I've been trying for over 3 years to get non-classified records about the decision to fund the research in Wuhan, and it's been denied. But I can tell you, under Secretary Kennedy, under Jay Bhattacharya, the records are beginning to flow. And what we're discovering is, yes, they did debate over whether or not it was gain of function. Fauci said everybody said it was not gain of function. Well, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and ultimately Dr. Fauci is going to need to come back in and explain why he made this decision. There ultimately will be an interview, either voluntarily or involuntarily. If he won't come, he will have to come back and explain to the American people why he decided to fund this research in China. This may be one of the greatest medical errors in modern history. And he bears a large part of the responsibility for this.
Gain of function studies the kind of science that is designed to make microbes and pathogens more virulent, more transmissible, and more deadly. It was in this country, they started doing it in 1947, the military and the intelligence agencies, in order to develop bioweapons. In 1969, President Nixon banned it all and shut down Fort Detrick, shut down all the labs. That ban, and then signed the Bioweapons Convention. That ban lasted till 2001. And after the anthrax attacks, Anthony Fauci essentially restarted the arms race and the bioweapons arms race, and did it under the pretension of developing vaccines, because of the same science that you develop bioweapons and vaccines. In 2014, 3 of his bugs had escaped. And 300 scientists wrote letters to President Obama asking him to shut down Anthony Fauci. President Obama declared a moratorium, but instead of shutting down his experiments, he moved them offshore, mainly to the Wuhan lab. And now, the principal institutions of our government, the CIA, the FBI, the State Department, Department of Energy, all say that it is most likely that those experiments resulted in the COVID-19 pandemic beginning in 2019. So President Trump moved to shut down this kind of research in this country and to stop funding it abroad.
The first relates to gain of function research. Gain of function research is a type of biomedical research where pathogens are adulterated, viruses are adulterated to make them more potent or to change the way that they function. Many people believe that gain of function research was one of the key causes of the COVID pandemic.
If it may have been a lab, may have been nature, we're supposed to look forward, then why did Dr. Fauci work so hard for just one of those theories?
What do you say to that? I'm almost have to laugh at that, Neil. I mean, that's totally bizarre. First of all, I wasn't leaning totally strongly one way or the other. What I do feel strongly about is that this was a spillover from an animal species to a human, strongly suggesting that, in fact, it was a natural occurrence. Very strongly indicating that it was a natural spillover.
Strongly points to this being a natural occurrence.
Pointing much more strongly
Pretty strong.
towards a natural occurrence. Very strongly. Strongly favors a natural occurrence. I wasn't leaning totally strongly one way or the other.
Is very strongly leaning towards this could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated.
He also gave them, one of his fundees, Ralph Barrick from the University of North Carolina, developed a technique called the seamless ligation technique, which is a technique for hiding the laboratory origins of a manipulated virus. So that normally, if there's a virus manipulated, you can look at it, researchers can look at it, they can look at the DNA sequences, and they can say this thing was created in a lab. But Ralph Barrick had developed a technique that he called the no-seum technique, and its technical name was seamless ligation, and it was a way of hiding evidence of human tampering. What is the public health rationale? If you were interested in public health, you would want to be doing the inverse of that. You would want to be pinning red flags all to it and say this was created by people.
That's what you would do if you were creating viruses for biological warfare.
Right, that's right. And that's another question, is why would he give it to the Chinese? I mean, that was a military lab. It was run by the military.
DARPA is the Pentagon. Let me repeat that. DARPA is the Pentagon. The Pentagon bought, paid for, envisioned these mRNA Frankenshots. And I should also point out, Fort Detrick was involved in the development of COVID-19, the offensive biological warfare weapon at the University of North Carolina, BSL-3. So the Pentagon is both sides of the argument here. They're developing the weapon and the alleged vaccine.
The NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
He's going to say it wasn't gain of function. Many other scientists are already and have been saying for almost a year now that it all was gain of function.
In 2014, the NIAID initiated research project R01 AI110964, Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergence. As part of that project, over $3 million was sent to EcoHealth Alliance, and over $500,000 of that was sent to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The requested work included this paragraph that many of our scientific sources told us was gain-of-function research. In 2017, EcoHealth Alliance's Peter Daszak and the Wuhan lab's Shi Zhengli published this progress report, which lists the ID R01 AI110964 in its funding section. This is the Fauci project.
Fauci said everybody said it was not gain of function. Well, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and ultimately Dr. Fauci is going to need to come back in and explain why he made this decision. There ultimately will be an interview, either voluntarily or involuntarily. If he won't come, he will have to come back and explain to the American people why he decided to fund this research in China. This may be one of the greatest medical errors in modern history. And he bears a large part of the responsibility for this.